everyone, Charles Watts here, the Arsenal correspondent at Gold, joining you just after Mikel Arteta's press conference on Tuesday ahead of tomorrow night's game against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. Just 3 games to go now before the end of this awful season. I suppose awful pretty much sums it up. 3 more games to go before we can sit back and enjoy the European Championships and maybe hope for a slightly better season when it comes to Arsenal next season. Mikel obviously speaking about that Chelsea game, but speaking a lot in today's press conference about the summer, about the plans of shaking things up, the overhaul that we're all expecting to happen, how it might happen, and that sort of thing. So I thought I'd pop on here, just go over a few things, what he had to say, give my opinion on a couple of things as well, and then right at the end look at the Chelsea match, latest team news, that sort of thing. So we'll start with the summer plans really. We've heard lots of talk about this Arsenal overhaul that's going to be happening this summer. I've spoken about it many a times in the last couple of months. It's always been on the agenda. The big changes that we've seen over the last couple of transfer windows are going to continue this summer. Obviously a little bit going to be a little bit impacted by what has happened in terms of failure to qualify for Europe, if indeed that does happen, which we, barring a miracle, it will happen. That sort of thing, the lack of money, that sort of thing will have a little bit of an impact on it. But even so, we're still expecting big changes to happen this summer at Arsenal. And Mikel's been speaking about it there. He's already talked before this press conference about Arsenal's need to be ruthless this summer, and that came up a little bit as well about what do you mean by that. And here's some of the things that he had to say when quizzed on Arsenal's summer plans this season. He said, there are so many things to do because we already have a lot of players on loan, a lot of players with contracts still that we have to sort out, and it will depend a lot on what happens with these players and obviously what we are able to do to recruit the team to improve. Will determine where we are. We have already had an incredible amount of changes throughout the club in the last year or so, more than ever, and we are looking to be much closer than where we are at the moment. In order to do that, certain things have to improve. Now it's about how we evolve. There are a lot of things that have to be done that have been done, and a lot of changes we had to make that have been made, and now it's about evolving. I'll do that last bit again. And now it's time to evolve. And to evolve, you have to take things once they're a little bit more settled and establish them at the next level. So quite a lot there about Mikel, what the plans are to do for this summer. And it's clear from what he's had to say there just how big the scale of the work is to be done this summer. He talks about there the players out on loan. What are you going to do with them? And we've just discussed those already on various times. Matteo Guendouzi, Lucas Torreira, Joe Willock. There's so many of them. Big decisions that have to be made. Ainsley Maitland-Niles. You're talking about 4 very important players there, 4 potentially valuable players there. You look at the form Joe Willock's in for Newcastle, you've got to be thinking you can get about £25 million for him if indeed you decide to sell and cash in and look to move him on and use that money to replace him. Ainsley Maitland-Niles as well, another England international, £25 million player potentially there. Matteo Guendouzi, his value is certainly going to diminish a little bit because he's only got a year left in his contract. The same with Lucas Torreira. He's got 2 years left, but obviously his lack of form and game time in the last year or so has certainly impacted his value-wise. But still a lot of money to be made potentially over those players if you decide that's what you're going to do when they come back from loan, is to sell them on. So that's going to be one of the first points of call for the summer when the season is ended, sitting down with those sort of players and deciding what the future holds and what's best for them. And then, like Mikel also talks about, the players that are contracts, you've got to decide, Alexander Lacazette, it's a massive one. What happens with Lacazette? 1 year left in his contract. Are you going to sell and move him on, try and get as much money as you can and then replace him with a striker? Eddie Nketiah, similar situation, year left on his contract. What are you going to do? We already know about Hector Bellerin and what could be happening with him this summer. These are all massive things, and they're things you kind of feel like you have to get out of the way early doors. It's not something you can let run on into the summer because you only got about 3 months of the transfer window being open. You've got the Euros which are going to impact things as well in terms of what business can be done because a lot of players are going to be away with their national teams. So you need to take these decisions early. And, Mikel has been saying that he has been in talks with Eddie for a long time about what's going to happen this summer. And you would hope, given the scale of the project that Arsenal have got to do, given the acceptance that everyone involved knows how big and important it is, that these decisions are taken early, and it's not something that just goes on and on and on and on, and then we get to the end of the transfer window and you got your typical rush and mad decisions being made. Arsenal have to act this summer, and they have to act quickly. Mikel's asked, is it going to be a case of sell to buy because of the financial issues Arsenal are suffering and things like that? Do you have to move players on first before you can bring players in? And also, not just talking about money there, but the size of the squad, because you have to remember Arsenal's squad is very, very big, and now there's not going to be European football to offer a lot of these players. A lot of the fringe players, they got their football this season in the Europa League group stages. You talk about like your Joe Willocks and people like that, Reece Nelson as well. Once that tournament's ended, we've seen their game time absolutely go through the roof, especially when you talk about someone like Reece Nelson, go through the floor, not through the roof. And that's not going to be there this season. So it's not just a case of bringing in money to buy players. You've also almost got to really reduce your squad size, because it's going to be very, very difficult to manage if you're going to have a lot of disappointed players in that squad if they're not playing. And this is what Mikel had to say about sort of moving players on first. He said, I don't think it's completely like that, but it will restrict and alter some plans in relation to what happens with one or two. Now, I think Arsenal are in a situation where the money that comes in is going to be very, very useful in terms of what they're going to do when it comes to incomings. I think we've seen in recent years it's not absolutely essential. Arsenal still managed to go out and sign Thomas Partey last season. They still managed to go out and get to Nicolas Pepe in the year before that. So I don't think it's absolutely essential that they have to sell to get players in, and it seems to be what Mikel's hinting at there. But it is going to be useful. There's no doubt about it. If Arsenal can do some business quickly at the start of the window in terms of moving on players that they perhaps feel are surplus to requirements, and I've said before, those players I've just mentioned are out on loan possibly, then that's going to absolutely help when it comes to identifying your targets and bringing them in, because A, you've cleared some squad space, but B, you've also brought some much needed funds into the club to help with that. So I think it's going to be very, very important to sort of act quickly. He also talks about what he's been discussing with Edu and how long these plans are in place, been in place for in terms of the summer. And he says, we've been sitting down the whole year. We have been in constant communication. Some things will have to stick to the plan that we already have, and some things will have to come out. But we sit down very, very regularly to talk about these things, obviously. Interesting one there where it's sort of in the middle. He says some things will stick to, other things will have to come out. Now that's, I presume he's talking about the fact that Arsenal aren't going to be in Europe next season. Things might have to change a little bit with that, be it money, that sort of things, or even, again, lack of game time for potential players. So a lot of things are going to change between now and then, but certainly these plans for the summer have been. It's not something that Arsenal are just doing now. It's something that's been talked about and discussed behind the scenes for a long, long time. They've been aware of the targets they've won. It's not just a case of one target. It'll be one if we can't get him, who's number two. If we can't get him, who's number three. They'll have their list of targets, and we've already identified the key areas that Arsenal are going to look at: right back, left back, striker, number 10, central midfielder. There's options all through the team here of what Arsenal are going to be looking to do, and they're going to be prioritising those in certain orders. And if they can't get the first target, they will look to get someone else that they've got on the list that has been identified. So, it's going to be an interesting summer. I think we're certainly going to be busy in terms of keeping track on what Arsenal are going to do. I think there's probably going to be quite a bit of excitement for you guys in terms of who Arsenal are after and whether they can get deals done. I think there's probably be a fair bit of frustration as well, because it always is when it comes to the summer transfer window and Arsenal. There's going to be lots of names linked, and like I said in these videos, whenever I do anything, I'll tend to steer away from just the sort of speculation. I'll talk about stuff that I actually know about, rather than going on and on about stuff that I have no idea about. But I will try and keep things covered in terms of transfer speculation and rumours and fact, more importantly, throughout the summer window. Interesting one when Mikel was asked, has there been progress made this season? I'm sure this is something all of you guys have got a lot of opinions on. Have Arsenal progressed? Have they gone on a downward spiral? Now, Mikel is pretty adamant when he comes to this. When he was asked, have you progressed? He said, we have made progress in many areas. I would say performance is included, and that's supported by many factors that we have looked at. Results-wise, to where we want to be, it has to be improved. We have to do better. We have to be much more consistent to win games, and in order to do that, there's certain things we have to improve. We will see what happens in the summer. See, again there, right at the end of that, he's throwing in, we'll see what happens there in the summer. So whenever he's talking about evolving or improving, right at the root cause of all of those comments, you can tell he's talking about the summer. He knows that he needs better players. He knows that he wants better players, and it always comes back to what's going on in the summer. Now, I'm not sure when he says that we have progressed in many areas. I think there is progress in areas. I'm not sure about many areas, but when he talks about performance, I'm really not sure about that. I don't think any of us can really sit down and see many games this season where we've really thought, yeah, Arsenal are absolutely on the right track and their performance is much, much improved, because I'm not sure. We were talking, me and a couple of other Arsenal journalists, we were sitting at the game on when was the Sunday night, wasn't it? And we were saying, how many times have we seen Arsenal really play well here at the Emirates this season? We had Chelsea in the game on Boxing Day. We had the North London derby when they played very, very well against Spurs. The Leeds game when they scored 4-2 against Leeds. But other than that, we couldn't really come up with anything at all. And so when Mikel says it performance-wise, we have improved, there has been progress, I'm not sure about that, I have to say. Okay, let's quickly talk about Chelsea now. Obviously, big game on Wednesday, big London derby. Unfortunately, not as big as it should be because of Arsenal's position in the table. But team news-wise for that, David Luiz is out still. Looks like we're probably not going to see David Luiz again this season, judging by what Mikel Arteta has said. He said everyone else is potentially available. He says the situation with David is he's not yet recovered. We'll see how he does in the next few weeks. The rest are still in contention, but we will see today at training. So the fact that he says that Luiz has not yet recovered, and we'll see how he does in the next few weeks, considering Arsenal have only got about 10 days left of their season, it's highly doubtful we're going to see David Luiz again. Whether we'll see him again at all remains to be seen, because of course he's out of contract now in the summer, and Arsenal have to make a decision with him about what they are going to do. Personally, I've said it before, I think the time is right to move on for David Luiz. I think he's actually been a decent signing for Arsenal. I know a lot of you disagree with that, but I think for £8 million he's done his job. I don't think Arsenal would have won the FA Cup last season without David Luiz. I think he's been a decent player, been very popular behind the scenes. But I do feel the time is right to move on now. You shouldn't really be looking at giving David Luiz a new contract. So, excuse me. It does look very unlikely now, shall we say, that David Luiz is going to play for Arsenal again. And that is a shame, because like I said, I think he's done a decent enough job since he's arrived. And on Chelsea, he says, well, probably they've been the best team in the league in the last few months. What Thomas Tuchel has done since he arrived has been exceptional. We put the team in 2 finals, the way the team is looking, how solid they are defensively as well, how composed and regular they've been in their performance has been excellent. Absolutely, can't really argue with any word with that. Thomas Tuchel has done a fantastic job at Chelsea. I've seen a lot of people comparing Arsenal and Chelsea and Tuchel and Arteta. A little bit harsh, I think, in many ways, because I just think Tuchel's got an awful lot better squad to work with when he's arrived. He's had excellent players who are massively underperforming. I'm not sure Arsenal, they've got some good players who have perhaps been underperforming, but certainly not on the level of Chelsea's squad. I mean, that is a very impressive squad Chelsea have got to work with and Tuchel's got to work with. So I think he's just got them more playing up to how they should be, rather than what Lampard was doing, which was clearly they were playing well below the standards that they should be under Frank. So a little bit, I'm not sure you can really compare too much the whole Chelsea, Arsenal, Tuchel, Arteta thing. Perhaps you can say, if Arsenal got rid of Arteta now and got someone else in, more qualified, someone who's had this sort of experience at the top level like Tuchel had, he could get more out of Arsenal. I don't think, you couldn't argue maybe with that, but still I think the squad differences are huge, and the quality of players the managers have got to work with are vastly different. Just finally, before I go, plans for pre-season. I thought this was quite interesting. Going to be intriguing to see what Arsenal do. It's going to be big for Mikel Arteta finally having a proper pre-season with his team for the first time since he's arrived at this club. Seems mad that, considering he's been in nearly 2 years. 1.5 years. But yeah, we're going to be finding out soon what Arsenal are going to be doing for pre-season. Will they be going abroad? Will they be staying local and getting a few friendlies in here? Obviously, the COVID issue is going to be very, very big when it comes to that. Here's what Mikel had to say. He says, we are trying to finalise everything with the COVID world. It's been a real challenge to get any games or pre-season tours sorted. But hopefully in the next week that will be confirmed and we can announce that. But this is what we're trying to do. Obviously, the Euros is going to condition the return dates of the players in relation to what they do in the tournament, so there are still plenty of question marks. It'd be nice if Arsenal did go out on a pre-season tour, but I think you kind of look at the way the world is at the moment and you think, is that really wise? Where can you go? Potentially, it's like every single English club's going to just dive into Portugal for the summer, something like that. So we'll have to wait and see what they do. I'm sure plenty of you guys watching wherever you are around the world will be hoping Arsenal might turn up on your doorstep in the summer so you can get to see them play. But judging by what Mikel had to say there, we're probably about a week, maybe 2 weeks away of finding out exactly what Arsenal's plans are for the summer. Right, everyone, thank you very much for watching. Appreciate your time as always. Please do enjoy the rest of your day. Head over to goal.com for all your latest Arsenal news as we build up to that big game at Stamford Bridge on Wednesday night. Until then, everyone, speak to you soon.